Well, good Thursday morning, or again, as we like to think of it, Friday Eve. We're at 4 minutes past 10 o'clock, 61 degrees right now at the KRIM studios on West Frontier. I'm Randy Roberson, and this morning on KRIM's Community Spotlight, we're going to be talking once again with Delphia Strickland. She's with Arizona Wild Rescue. And first of all, Delphia, thanks for coming down and being with us again. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having us again.
Absolutely. Now, I was just thoroughly intrigued last time we talked here on the radio about the work that you've been doing. It's really astounding. I guess to give people, first of all, to set the stage here, can you give us the Reader's Digest condensed version of what Arizona Wild Rescue is all about?
Arizona Wild Rescue is a nonprofit wildlife rescue and rehabilitation organization. And I am the company. I do everything in the company. We do have a few volunteers, but 95% of the work is done by myself and my mom. And that work includes going out and getting animals, the veterinary diagnostic testing, and then of course actual care, raising them by hand or medications, wound treatment, that sort of thing, and then making sure they're ready to go back to the wild and then releasing them.
Wow. And so everything from being the president to being the pooper scooper.
Exactly. Yeah. Dishes. So many dishes and laundry.
There's a bottom line joke there somewhere, but anyway, the bottom line here though is that I was just amazed when you came in this morning, asking you how many critters you've taken care of, and the number blew both of my remaining brain cells.
This year, and this is more than we took in last year, we've had 189 animals so far this year.
Wow.
And that's individual animals, 189 individual animals. I am the only rehabber in Gila County, and so our county and some of the outlying areas, I'm their only option.
And so, like, when as far as groups that either bring or animals to you or tell you about an animal that needs to go be picked up or whatever, I mean, what groups are you dealing with that way for referrals?
It's individuals, private citizens. Occasionally there'll be a business and someone at the business will call me, but it's usually people that find something in their backyard or when they're out taking their dog for a walk or something like that. Somebody witnesses an animal being hit by a car and they pull over and bring it in. We do work with Maine Animal Hospital. Dr. Sorensen is our vet of record. And Tasha there is one of our volunteers, and everyone there is very helpful and have a lot of expertise and really make the job a lot easier.
Now, what's the largest animal that you've worked with?
Well, last year we did get in a bald eagle.
Wow.
But that is not something I'm licensed for, so we did transfer it. Just yesterday, I would say this is one of the other large animals we get, a turkey vulture.
Right.
And while they're big birds with a very long set of wings, 6-foot wingspan, they only weigh about 3-4 pounds. So
it's all wing. Huh?
It's all wing and feathers. Yeah. They're designed for soaring.
So is most of what you care for avian life?
We do a mix of avian and mammal. We don't do any reptiles or amphibians. That's a whole different ball of wax. But it's mostly small birds and small mammals. And then I am allowed to triage and transport other things just due to the nature of being in a rural area and having no other resources.
So when we're talking small mammals, what things like squirrels, things like that?
Tree squirrels, various types of ground squirrels, rats, mice.
Wow. It's interesting. And 189 of 50 species just this year.
50 different species.
Wow,
yeah.
That's remarkable.
And this year we've been very squirrel heavy. Lots and lots of tree squirrels this year, and not nearly as many rabbits as we usually get.
And I mean, is there a primary cause of why they're why they're in your care, as far as getting hit by a car or whatever?
For the tree squirrels, it's usually that they've lost their mother. It's usually orphans that we get for tree squirrels. When we get, the rats and mice, it's typically someone took their car to the mechanic and they found them in the engine compartment, or they were cleaning out their attic or something like that.
Now, I see also in the statistics that you have approximately a 40% release rate. So about 40% of these actually get released back out into the wild again.
Right.
And then the others, I'm assuming, are going to some other care facility?
No, those others are deceased.
Okay.
Unfortunately, a lot of what we do is just hospice care. It's
Right.
just ending their suffering, or doing a Hail Mary pass to try to save them, and it doesn't work.
Right.
Especially with rabbits, they're super high strung, and we say they just like to die.
Right.
So
Well, that makes sense. Now, how long have you been doing this?
over 21 years.
You starting to get the hang of it?
I think some days no. Some days I really feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, there's a lot of training involved. There's a lot of education involved. I have to keep up my licenses with continuing education classes. Just learning all the time. Things change. You have to be able to roll with the new science of how to take care of these things.
So, who pays you to do this?
Nobody.
That's just what I was thinking. I mean, this is just really a labor of love.
It is. It's a vocation,
Right.
not an occupation.
Right.
It is definitely something that I feel I am meant to do. I am a cancer survivor, and I had terminal cancer,
Oh, wow.
and I went into spontaneous remission, and then right after that I started going into wildlife rehab, and that's what I've been doing ever
Sounds
since.
like somebody upstairs had another plan for you.
Yeah, I feel like this is what I'm meant to do,
Cool.
as distressing as it is and exhausting as it is. Those moments when you get to send something back are
Right.
just precious.
Well, and as truly the epitome of a nonprofit type of organization, obviously there's been donations along the way that have helped you. And I know just recently you had a shed that was donated.
Yeah, we that last big storm that we had in the winter collapsed our housing.
I remember seeing that in the roundup. Yeah.
Collapsed our housing, and we lost a bunch of cages and so forth from just the weight of the snow. And we did fundraising, and the public was very, very supportive. We had an article in the roundup. We asked for donations. We got the money to buy a shed, which was given to us at a discount. We also had concrete poured for the pad. Strawberry Mountain Carpentry did that for us. J&R Landscaping is building the shed for me right now, and Pace and Concrete gave us a discount on the concrete for the pad.
Pace and Concrete, they're always out there doing good stuff.
Yeah, they were very helpful. We really, honestly, it was a significant discount for us. $1 is a lot of money to us. So.
Sure. I know what you mean. Now, so yeah, as far as and that's been donated and done to help keep you operational. But you have more projects coming up.
We do. The building, which is a detached garage that we have wanted to do our work out of, unfortunately the electrical is very behind the times, and it doesn't support all the different pieces of equipment that we need. I can run the lights and the water heater, or I can run the water heater and the freezer. I can't run all three at the same time. So we definitely need some major upgrade on the electrical in order to be able to use all that. And we need a washer and dryer, because I've been using my household washer and dryer. And it's kind of hard on our house machine to run animal blankets through it.
Right. So the bottom line is if someone out there knows an electrician that has a heart for this kind of thing, you could use a little bit of help from an electrician. And man, that
it's a pretty major electrical upgrade. We need the sub panel needs some upgrade. We need grounding wire put in. We need outlets added and upgraded, and
yeah, but it's not like you're getting 3-phase power brought in or something like that.
No, we also need to get 220 put in so we can have a dryer and washer and dryer in there.
But you do need a washer and dryer, don't you?
We do need a large capacity, heavy duty washer and dryer.
I imagine you're dealing with lots of blankets and towels and cleaning rags and things like that.
Yes, stuff that we have to bleach all the time. Stuff that we clean it as much as we can before it goes in, but some stuff is impossible to get out, and it just ends up clogging everything up. So we need something that can handle that kind of load.
Now, one of the other things that well, first of all, now if someone says, well, gosh, I know where there's a washer and dryer that might work for you, or I'm an electrician and I'd like to talk to you about maybe trying to help you out. How do people get in touch with you?
They can text me. My cell phone is 203-6473. And we are on Facebook. You can look us up on Facebook and Instagram.
Arizona Wild Rescue.
Arizona Wild Rescue. You can message me there. Any wildlife calls should come to my cell phone by text, though.
Right.
Otherwise, I may not see it in time.
Gotcha. Okay, now, we invite you to contact Althea if you do have some ideas for her there. One of the other things that you're trying to do too is provide a little bit of educational outreach. Tell us about that.
We do, part of our purview is education to the public about our wildlife. And there's wildlife all around us, and not everyone actually notices it. So we do try to go out, especially to schools and garden clubs, to let people know what kind of wildlife is around and how to best enjoy and interact with our wildlife. One of the things that we also do is tell people how not to interact with wildlife. Don't feed the elk and deer. Please don't feed the javelina.
Oh man.
Javelina and elk and deer are very dangerous animals.
Sure.
They're cute and all that, but they're very dangerous.
Well, I tell you, javelina can rip you up bad.
Yeah, I've seen firsthand what they can do.
You know, years ago we lived out in Upper Round Valley, and my in-laws' dog got mixed up with a javelina, and that was really a lot of ripping and tearing going on.
Yeah, they're called javelina because their fangs are like javelins, and because they rub on each other all the time, they're basically getting sharpened all the time, and they're like razor blades. So they're just defending themselves. They have extremely poor vision, so they really can't see as well, and they go by smell and sound, and so it's easy to spook them, and they don't know how else to defend themselves. So.
Right. All I know is my dad and a couple of my brothers were years ago very avid hunters, and they would go out and hunt javelina. I've had javelina fixed about 5 or 6 different ways, and they were all disgusting. I mean, that's just basically, great, you brought home some rodent meat.
It's pretty gamey from what I understand,
yeah.
and it's not, and tough. It's probably pretty tough too.
Yeah,
but
you know, you can fix it like like barbecue, where it all falls apart, and it's still just nasty in my opinion.
And honestly, I don't have a problem with hunting if you are doing it legally.
Sure.
If you're doing it ethically, and you're doing it to feed your family, that's fine.
But
I
you also
especially appreciate it if you use copper ammunition.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense. And it also is important to at the same time state that I'm sure one of the things that concerns you is there's far too many instances where people are out just taking pot shots at animals just because they think it's fun.
Exactly. And I've had so many animals come to me that have been shot by pellet guns. A couple years ago, we had a Canada goose at the lake that had been shot by an arrow.
I remember that.
Which that was just spite. That's just pure spite. And it did die. It was a horrible wound. I've had chipmunks that have been used for target practice, and rock squirrels, and all sorts of little quote-unquote varmints that have been people just taking pot shots at them. But also, disturbingly, people shoot ravens and crows, and they shoot turkey vultures. And none of these birds can hurt anybody. They don't go after your pets. They don't carry off little foo-foo. And they won't attack humans. They don't want anything to do with us. In fact, just yesterday, I picked up a turkey vulture locally that had been shot in the wing by a pellet gun, and it did, break the radius and ulna, which are these 2 bones. And he's going to be okay. It's going to take surgery and a lot of time. And it's a young bird. He's only a year or 2 old.
So that brings up an interesting point, though. And God bless you for what you're doing, because I think it's really neat. But I mean, so you have this turkey vulture that's brought in. You do an X-ray. You see that the pellet has broken the 2 bones in the frontal part of the wing there. For those of you that are watching on Facebook right now, you saw kind of what we were talking about. But for those of you on the radio, so you're talking about it needing to have surgery, and who does that for free?
Nobody.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, not a person does it. Now, some veterinarians will discount or donate some time, but there's always still costs involved. For instance, in this case, I took the bird to Maine Animal Hospital. That's my vet of record.
Right.
I took an X-ray. We wrapped the wing up, and then I drove it down to Liberty Wildlife. That's 160 miles round trip.
And who pays for that?
Me.
Yeah.
Me. And my time, you know, the
Right.
time that I'm doing that, I'm not doing the administrative tasks or the cleaning tasks or things like that. Then Liberty Wildlife, it's handed over to them. Their veterinarian does the surgery, their staff does the care, and they're the ones feeding it. You know, we don't get paid by the government to do this.
You know, one of the things too, going along with you mentioned ravens, and correct me if I go astray here, but I know myself having I've got a large parrot, and I've worked a lot with birds over the years, and I mean their longevity, parrots, you know, in captivity can, you know, live, you know, upwards around 80 years, depending on the breed. And I understand the same is true with ravens, that they can live quite a while. And I've always wondered, you know, you're driving down the road, and every once in a while you'll see one just sitting on the guardrail on the side of the road, just watching you go by, and you got to wonder, you know, how many decades that bird has, you know, been, you know, watching cars go by, waiting for the next piece of roadkill or whatever.
And they're extremely intelligent.
Oh,
Ravens are as smart as approximately 5-year-old humans.
There was I don't know how long you've been in Payson, but the old zoo that used to be out on Line Springs Road, Randy out there that ran that, he had one in captivity that actually had quite a vocabulary. And I didn't realize they could learn how to talk.
Yeah, they're excellent mimics. I worked with one at a rescue group down in the valley. I worked with her for about 10 years, and she has a vocabulary. Any of the corvids, which are ravens, crows, and jays, can mimic. I actually have a Steller's jay education bird who had been illegally kept for far too long and doesn't understand he's a bird, but he meows and he does microwave sounds and he says something that we can't quite understand, but he also was quite happy to say a particular swear word.
Oh, lovely.
Which he doesn't do anymore because we refuse to acknowledge it, and it's not interesting anymore and doesn't give him attention, so he doesn't say it anymore.
I feel very blessed that in the 20-some years I've had my parrot, that her vocabulary is all very positive.
Good. That's good to hear.
It's also miraculous, but at any rate, the only reason I bring that up is for people that think that, oh, it's just fun to take a pot shot at. Yeah, that bird could have been, you know, sitting out there for
20 years.
And you know, just doesn't make sense to do that.
Well, and they, you know, they're part of the natural environment and they have their place in the ecosystem. Turkey vultures are nature's sanitation workers.
Sure.
They clean up dead stuff, and if you don't want a lot of dead stuff around, you need to stop shooting the turkey vultures. One of the things about turkey vultures, people think, you know, there's these huge birds and they have these big feet and these big beaks. Their feet are actually extremely weak. They can't carry anything.
Wow.
They can perch, they can walk around, but they can't actually carry something off. And they don't hunt. It's extremely rare that they hunt. They're scavengers. They're one of the only birds that have a sense of smell that's worth anything. They have this big open passageway in their upper beak that allows air to go across their olfactory nerves, and so they can smell food a mile away.
Wow.
And by food, I mean dead things.
Right, and so that, so that's how they hone in on that.
That's how they hone in on it. And, you know, I don't know, I guess people just like shooting them because they can. But like I said, you know, if you're going to hunt legally, hunt properly.
Sure.
Don't break laws, don't poach.
Right.
There's a season for hunting, and
there's a reason for that. I mean, they control that in such a way that even though I know, you know, some will, you know, say that, you know, some of the different predator populations have been greatly reduced, and still to keep other species in check. I think some of the hunts and stuff like that make sense for that, but do it legally. Yeah. Do
it legally and use copper ammunition when you can.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So you're basically, if I'm reading between the lines properly, you're talking about lead is a problem.
Lead is bad.
Yeah.
Lead is bad for every living thing. There's a reason why lead is not allowed in birdshot anymore. It's because it's polluting lakes and causing fish kills and so on and so forth, and it gets in the groundwater. Lead is toxic. Lead will kill you, and it may not kill you quickly, but it will kill you.
Right.
One of the leading causes of turkey vulture death and bald eagle death and California condor death is lead poisoning, because they're eating the gut piles left behind by hunters.
Okay.
And there's fragmented lead in there. And people don't realize how widespread lead bullets get in the meat of an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not be able to see it or know that it's there, but you probably are poisoning yourself. Copper ammunition is more accurate. It is more expensive, but it's more accurate. You'll use less of it, and it doesn't have such a detrimental effect on the environment, both in water and the ground and on the wildlife.
Good to know. Makes sense. Now, again, Arizona Wild Rescue does accept donations via Facebook or via just regular mail.
Yeah, we have a P.O. box here in town.
Which is?
P.O. Box 806, and the zip code for the post office is 85547.
Right.
We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so check with your tax advisor. Donations may be tax deductible. And even $1 or $5 helps us buy a syringe or a box of syringes. Larger donations are always welcome.
So, but I mean, even if you do have a $1 million tax liability this year, you could offset that by donating $1 million.
Absolutely. We will not say no to any amount.
I hear you.
Beggars can't be choosers.
I just think what you're doing is great, and the fact that it is such a labor of love says a lot about how this is being done, and I admire that. And you've been doing it for over 20 years. The most unusual animal that you've ever had to deal with?
When I was with a rescue down in the valley, we did some brown pelicans, and this was actually before they were delisted on the endangered species list. And I'd never worked with pelicans before. In fact, I didn't even know they came to Arizona until then. But they do, and they are big birds with big beaks, and they also only weigh about 3 pounds because they're all air.
Right.
They also have mites all over them that help. That's a symbiotic relationship to keep their feathers clean and their throat clean.
This must be why I never have had one.
Yeah, it makes me itch just thinking about it. But yeah, there was a really unusual instance to do pelicans, and we ended up having to take them to SeaWorld San Diego because at the time that's where they were being cataloged and banded for the endangered species program.
And the most common critter that is brought to you?
Most common bird would be the house finch. They're the ones where the males have the red heads.
Right.
That would be the most common bird, and most common mammal would be this year tree squirrels, the Arizona gray squirrels. But typically it's cottontails, and with cottontails, unfortunately, we get a lot of animals that have been caught by cats. And cats are not a native species. They are technically an invasive species, and they are incredibly damaging to the wildlife.
Right.
I love cats. I have 5 cats. I've always had cats. I used to work in a cat hospital, but they really don't belong outside. I understand people use them for barn cats and so forth, but please be responsible about having your cats spayed and neutered, vaccinated.
The numbers, and I can't recite them off the top of my head, but I know I've heard repeatedly, left unchecked or unsterilized, cats, can multiply in some pretty crazy numbers over the course of just a year.
Yeah, in 1 year, I believe it's one female can produce something like 400 offspring between her babies and their babies and so forth, and it's just an exponential growth. And I get that there are some cats out there that absolutely will not stay inside, and I get that. But if you can keep them inside, you should. It's safer for the cat.
Sure.
For one thing, they're less injury, less disease, less predation, but also for the wildlife. Outdoor cats are responsible for millions and millions of deaths of wildlife every year in the United States alone.
Fascinating stuff that you do, and again, this is it's not something that's open to the public. It's a very private sort of thing. Needs to be, actually. It makes perfect sense. But it is a nonprofit 501c3, and they do desperately need more support. So once again, if people have a desire to know more, or if they would like to make a donation, or maybe they just this morning I have an injured animal in my front yard. The best thing to do to begin with would be to text you, right?
Yes, for anyone that has a wildlife issue that they need addressed right now, they should text me. My voicemails don't always get to me in time. I don't know why that is. Verizon can't figure it out. So text will always come through, and that's the best way to reach me for that.
And the number again is?
623-203-5885. 888-272-6473.
Outstanding. And then again, people can find Arizona Wild Rescue on Facebook. And then there was one other option. What was that?
We are also on Instagram.
Oh, Instagram too. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
We're on TikTok too, but it's hard to do videos on TikTok. So
Yeah, they kind of limit you a little bit.
up to 3-minute videos on TikTok, but it's the work that goes into making them that is I just don't have the time.
I hear you.
So
Outstanding. Well, keep up the good work, and we hope some people will perhaps consider supporting what you're doing here, because again, they are a nonprofit 501c3, so your donations are tax deductible. And aside from that, even if you don't have a big tax liability, this is just some really great work that you're doing, and it deserves some support. So hopefully we'll get your phone to ring a little bit more.
thanks, I really appreciate it.
Delphia Strickland with Arizona Wild Rescue, thank you for coming in again. And we're going to get back to more of your favorite music here on the radio. Have some tunes coming up from Bob Seger, Roy Orbison, and a whole bunch more. But first, a quick look at Rim Country weather.
Now, this morning's KRIM weather
I forgot to mention it's illegal to shoot them.
Oh, yeah. A little known fact.